Good evening, everyone, and
Good evening.
thank you for the amazing opportunity to listen to my experiences and failures on the art of persuasion. It is something which I have learned over the years as a founder of Natraj Home Furnishings, and now since I am the voice behind Business Buddha, I'm reflecting upon it in a very deep way and understanding that especially in the world of AI and where everything is increasingly being run through technology, the art of persuasion, talking to each other through a dialogue, is all the more important. The world is getting a very, very hot place. It's in fact, because of the climate change, the world is getting hotter and hotter. But it's also becoming louder. Everyone just wants to shout, I am right and you are wrong. And sadly, no one wants to listen. There is constant pushing of our own agenda, resulting in bubbling conflict, chaos all around. From boardroom to drawing room, people just want to tear each other apart without any kind of patience to listen to each other. In fact, there are so many wars going on in boardrooms, at border, and even in our bedrooms. Is this the world we want to live in? And I'm here to ask you, do we need to always push and prove, or is there a better way? My name is Deepak Advani, and as a global entrepreneur, I've had the opportunity to travel and meet people across different cultures. And I've learned from my travels, experiences, and failures that pushing hard hardly works. Instead, in most of the cases, it backfires. When we're pushing hard, it backfires. But if we were to put our point politely, that works. But for that, one has to master the art of persuasion. Now, the dictionary meaning of persuasion is influencing others through a dignified dialogue. And if I were to use Hindi, and I presume कि इतना हिंदी सबको आता होगा, that persuasion is simply patana. Yes, the girlfriend, boyfriend, partner, spouse, customer wala patana. And the art of persuasion is nothing but patience ke saath patana. Was I persuasive from the beginning? No, I was not. But do I practice the art of persuasion now? Yes, I do, and I'm learning. Let me invite you to my world back then. About 15 years ago, I was an actual idiot thinking that pushing hard was persuading. It was early days in my business at Natraj, and things were slow, and it was actually a very desperate time. And to gain some momentum, we decided that we are going to participate in an international show in Germany. It is called the Heimtex. It's held every year in January. It's a 4-day show, and day 1 and 2 were complete washout. But on day 3, a team of my dream retailer from France, Auchan, led by their sourcing manager, Ms. Juliette Cordier, they walked in. They saw our samples, loved our products, and finally Juliette said that, Deepak, we love your products and we want, send us the quotation, send us the orders, and send us the offers, and we want to write an order soon. I was elated. And you can share, you can almost feel that how it feels when after a long period of struggle and things not working your way, when finally one gets a breakthrough. It is a very exhilarating feeling. But back home, after the exhibition, things were very slow. In fact, they had slowed down further, and out of desperation, I started to push harder. But the harder I pushed to clock new deals, the more it seemed to lock the doors. When I was trying to clock more deals by pushing harder and harder, it started to lock more doors. And the only bright spot at that point of time was the meeting which we had in a fair in January with Auchan, because they had loved everything, the quotations we had sent and everything we had done for them. And Juliet had written that we are going to place the orders soon. As February turned into March, my impatience grew, and despite sending multiple emails, Juliet's response remained the same, that we are going to write the orders soon. Now tell me, have you heard of the quote that people hear what they want to hear? You may write it in chat, or you may just raise your hands. That people want to hear what they want to hear. Anyone? Have you heard that quote? I'm sure you must have. When Juliet Cordier was writing that we will place the order soon, I was not hearing the word soon. I was just hearing we will place the order, because that's what I wanted to hear. The time passed by, and finally, in June, I decided to visit them in Paris to finalize the deal, because I was getting impatient. I was getting desperate. But Juliet replied that do not come for the order. But if you want to come to show us the new samples, please, you're welcome. On the way to Paris, my agenda was very clear, very, very clear. After showing her the samples to Juliet, I wanted to persuade her, to talk to her, to close the order which was pending, and for which she was patiently replying that it is confirmed, but we will place the order soon. I reached the beautiful Auchan office, which was situated in the heart of city Paris. It was a hall with glass windows and overlooking the Eiffel Tower. It was like almost going to the heaven. The same team which had visited us at the fair, led by Juliet Corder, walked in. They saw all the new samples. They liked the stuff. They made the selection. And again, they told us to send the quotations and the details. But as the first part of the agenda got over, I immediately started to ask Juliet that what about the order which has been pending? She told me with a smile that, Deepak, I already told you that we are going to place the order soon, but this trip, it is only samples, not the order. I said, Juliet, but I've come all the way. And started to persuade her that, if there is a price, if there is something which you want to discuss. She said, no, everything is final. We are going to place the order soon. I persuaded her once, asked her twice, asked her thrice, asked her 4 times, many times, changing the question, changing the language, but the same thing. And she kept on saying the same thing. We will place the order soon. This trip, only samples. But finally, after I asked her for the umpteenth time, she got up and left the hall. After a few moments, she walked back in, and she was carrying the packet of those samples, which they had been selected. I thought, yes, it was like entering a dream world. It was like a dream, because eventually I was able to persuade the team by visiting them to write the orders, to have a closures, and to get out of the desperate times which we were facing back home back then at Natraj. It was a dream I didn't want to wake up from. But then, dreams are not reality. Juliet sat across to me, and something in her body language had changed. She took the packet and slid it across to me. And she said, pardon, sorry, we don't want to work with you. We don't want to work with you? I didn't understand. It was too much of a shock value. I thought, what has what just happened? And I asked her, why? You love the samples, the prices are right, and I've come all the way. She, with a stiff body language, still said, pardon. She just raised her hand like this and she said, pardon, sorry. She stayed silent. But now when I look back, and I can actually hear her thinking that, what she was saying, that this company is so impatient. They can't wait. Once we start doing business with them, they'll be breathing down our necks. And you, all the audience, must be thinking that, Deepak, you are not being persuasive. You are being pesky, pushy, like those telemarketer calls who keep on calling you again. I think that is what the case was. But my dream I had become so close to achieving my dream, but then it had crashed. And when dream crash, it is all gloom and doom. Don't you agree? I was so heartbroken that I was almost in a state of crisis on the travel back home. But in states of crisis, life gives us choices and life gives us chances. I had a very strong arm who used to pull me always from that crisis. Because I'm a self-made man. I learned it by doing. I made mistakes, and that was my mentor, my father-in-law, retired IG, Inspector General of Punjab Police, Shri Vijay Kumar Kapil. And that's his photograph. Now, Kapil Saab, although he was my father-in-law, I used to call him Kapil Saab. Kapil Saab had a Dharmendra-like personality, tall, well-built, a decorated soldier. That's him being given President's Gallantry Award winner. And he used to give me amazing insights and life lessons. So I went to him, he was living in Panchkula, and once I entered his drawing room, Kapil Saab was sitting in his full glory. And once you meet Kapil Saab, although we lost him too soon, he had the wisdom of 500 years. And one thing I want to mention also about Kapil Saab, he wanted to help everyone. When I entered the drawing room, there was a Sikh gentleman by the name of Manjeet sitting in that drawing room. Kapil Saab introduced me to him, and Manjeet got up and he shook my hand. He said that Kapil Saab is like our godfather. He has helped us in many, many situations. We are holding a small function at our village. Please come. It will be to our pleasure and honor. I shook hands warmly with Manjeet and I really liked him. I liked his energy and I liked his vibe. Next morning, as a ritual, it was a ritual that, me and Kapil Saab used to have tea in his garden, just below the small orange tree, as I remember now. And I told him that, I'm in a moment of crisis and I've been trying to unlock doors of opportunities. And no matter what I do, I had this bright spot, an amazing meeting in Paris, but it crashed and failed. I want to tell you, a thing about great mentors, as Kapil Saab was mine. Great mentors don't give you advice. Instead, they share experiences with you. Do you guys agree that great mentors don't give you gyan or they don't give you advice? Rather, they share experiences, but those experiences are so life-changing, so life-transforming that they are a masterclass in itself. Do you guys agree? If you guys agree, please, give me a thumbs up. Kapil Saab was one such mentor. Kapil Saab leaned back in his chair and reflected. And he said, Deepak, you met Manjeet yesterday, right? I said, yes. He said, about 25 years ago, when we were fighting terrorism in Punjab, he and his family had chosen to join terrorism. Now, Kapil Saab was given the President's Award of Gallantry because He was instrumental in eradicating terrorism from Punjab. So I started to listen, and Kapil Saab started to tell me. It was the peak of terrorism time in Punjab, and the headquarter had given me instructions to conduct an operation in Manjeet's village because there was some information that people from their village were sheltering terrorists and they were becoming terrorists in part themselves. But based on the intelligence on the ground and my gut feeling, I said, nahi yaar, let me just first go and talk to them. So although we started to conduct an operation, I made sure that we don't go in our police uniform, but in plain clothes. Because you all know that, that police force, that khaki vardi has got its power of intimidation. That only means conflict. That only means chaos. And especially back in those times, police meant trouble for villagers. And Kapil's and I, Deepak Beta, when I was entering the Gurudwara, I had only had one thing in my mind, that somehow I'm going to convince these people to stop following the path of terrorism and adopt a peaceful lifestyle. When I reached the Gurdwara, there were some elders sitting. I started to talk to some elders. But Deepak, when I started to give them logics, when I started to tell them the negative consequences, the more logics I gave, the more argumentative they became. In fact, my giving them logics and their arguments, it reached such a flashpoint that they almost said that we will face the consequences. Forget it. We'll do whatever we have to do. You can take your peace pipe back home. At that point of time, I stopped talking and I started listening. And when I started listening, they started speaking. They spoke, I listened, they spoke, I listened, they spoke, I listened. And Deepak, we had gone there in the morning. Morning turned to noon, noon to evening, evening to late night. And we kept on listening and they just kept on talking. And finally, when the day was done, I realized that they didn't have any extraordinary problems. They had the same problems which probably the whole country had: water, corruption, education, MSP. But one typical thing which came out, that everyone, the police, the leaders, the administration, were just lecturing them, just talking to them, and no one was listening to them. They were feeling completely unheard. No one was treating them with respect. No one was trying to understand their perspective. And there was no trust. They had lost all the trust in the system. And to make themselves heard, they had decided that they will pick up guns. As I went back to my headquarters, somehow I begged my superiors to give me more time and not ask me, not force me to conduct a terrorist operation, because I believed, I felt that there is a way out. I can still get a peaceful solution. The next day, I went to the village again and again listened to them with an open ear. And went the next day, and then went the next day, and the next day, and the next day. I kept on going to listen to them. They spoke and I listened. They spoke and I listened. And I made every effort to gain their trust. I became their voice, raised their issues with the administration, became their spokesperson, and made them feel heard. After a few weeks, Deepak, somehow I got a very small breakthrough. And I was able to persuade a small group of families to shun terrorism. And after that small breakthrough, those group of families and me, we went through to the whole village, and finally that village together decided that they will not pursue the path of violence, but would live a peaceful life. So Deepak beta, Manjeet was a young boy then. He and his brothers and his family had almost picked up a gun. And I am so glad that I was able to persuade them. Kapil Saab ended his experience, sharing his experience. But as I listened to them, I had goose pimples on me. What I had just heard was a masterclass in persuasion. And he had not convinced a client to give him order. He had actually made a life and death difference to the whole community, to Manjeet, his family, so many boys, so many men, so many people. And when I now reflect and I carried that lesson back home, one thing became very clear, that the art of persuasion is not a trick of mind, but it stands solidly on these 5 pillars of the heart. Now, what are these 5 pillars of heart? Give me a thumbs up or a raise of hand if you want to know, what the heart of persuasion, the synthesis of Kapil Saab's experiences and my learning and my reflection. Please give me a thumbs up. Thank you. H is the first pillar of persuasion. It's here. Hear with an open ear. Yes, persuasion doesn't start with talking. It starts with hearing. We all understand, we've got open ears, but do we hear? In every city of the world, I would say, as I've traveled far and wide, what is the biggest problem we face when we are stuck in traffic? The biggest problem, to me, it's the honking, especially in the Indian cities. Paw, 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 honking, honking, honking. Everyone wants to honk, wants to take the way, but no one wants to give that way. Similarly, when we are trying to convince our teenager, our team member, our boss, our customer, we just honk, 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 and we don't give a way. What if we just stop talking, just stop honking, and heard the other one, gave them the way? It would not only create a way for them, it would clear the traffic. There would be way for him and there would be a way for me. Do you agree that if we hear and if we practice mindful listening, active listening, the other person would feel respected? In fact, research proves that the reward system of the brain gets activated when someone hears you. It's like sugar to our body. The reward system of the brain gets activated. So that's the first pillar of art of persuasion. Hear with an open ear, the art of mindful listening, which means listen to understand and understand to listen. The second pillar of persuasion is empathy. Now, with empathy, I have my most sincere sympathy, because empathy is the most spoken word in the management and in the circles of all the educated people, but but the word which is completely underutilized, never practiced. Everyone just wants to empathize with others, talk about empathy, but not practice empathy. Now, I'm glad that, people from all across India have joined. How many are vegetarians? There must be vegetarians and non-vegetarians in this group of people, right? So to my vegetarian friends, I know your reasons to be vegetarian. It's plant friendly, it's digestion friendly, it's organic, it's a matter of your culture. And to my friends who have raised their hands, who are non-vegetarians, I know your reasons. You get more protein, you get more variety. It's a cultural thing, and it's just a matter of your choice. But despite this, we have a raging debate going on between vegetarians and non-vegetarians. Is there not? There is always, no, we are vegetarians, no, we are non-vegetarians. Vegetarians are better, non-vegetarians are whatever. But to tell you, I mean, I don't have any debate in my mind. I am both. I can be a vegetarian as well as a non-vegetarian. Now, what if the vegetarians were able to just understand the perspective of the non-vegetarians, and the non-vegetarians did the same? And once they understand the perspective that ultimately it's a matter of choice, the debate will disappear. If only two parties in the persuasion, like the vegetarians and the non-vegetarians, were able to understand the perspective where they are coming from. In fact, the research proves it, that a persuasive, empathetic argument helps us to go beyond the what and helps us explore the why, where the other person is coming from. And it takes us from a debate, and which can turn really ugly. And we've seen so many petty issues in our country, in our offices, in our boardrooms, across the borders, becoming so ugly. Empathetic arguments scientifically are proven that they go and explore why, and we move from a debate to dialogue. The third pillar of the heart formula, or the art of persuasion, is awareness. Now, awareness, if you heard Kapil Saab's experiences, Kapil Saab was a very aware officer. Not that he had not conducted operations. He was a decorated soldier. He had used the force where he wanted to. But in circumstances and in situations like Manjeet's village, he chose that he chose that he was going to go in plain clothes and not in his police ki vardi to intimidate them and talk to them. And ultimately, he was able to persuade them with peace to follow the path of the peace. It would have been very simple for him to just go and conduct the operation and finish mechanical. So the opposite of having a mechanical argument is awareness. If I were to define awareness in the business Buddha sense, the path which I am following since a year, awareness is nothing but reflection before action. Awareness is living in the present and understanding that we always have a choice. Kapil Saab had a choice, but he chose, and Manjeet and so many other people's lives were prosperous, were peaceful. It was good for their family, the society, and the country. So awareness always gives us the choice to look at things not without the bias, not with the bias, not with a judgment, but to look at the things objectively, the way they are, not the way we think they are. I repeat, awareness gives us a choice to look at the things objectively, the way they are, not the way with our biases we think they are. The fourth pillar of awareness is respect. Now, if I were to ask you this question, that how can any individual earn respect? What is the sure shot way of earning respect? The sure shot way of earning respect is by giving respect. If I give you respect, you will give me respect. 100%. 100%. So in the art of persuasion, respect is nothing but valuing the opinion of the other person. And especially showing respect when the opinion is contrary to our stand. And it's very difficult at that point of time to respect a contrary opinion because our ego doesn't let it do. But with awareness, if we show respect, the results can be astounding. But we see across the spectrum that many political debates or in our business circle, many marketing campaigns rely solely on belittling the other person, belittling the competition. But is it truly necessary? Can we not show respect and accept that, okay, the competition is better, learn from them and accept it with dignity? But unfortunately, grace is rare. And personal attacks, the easiest thing to do, are very common. So instead of giving respect and gaining respect, it all goes down the drain. Cladini and Rosenberg have actually made an evidence-based research. They've done a field study that a respectful, non-coercive dialogue brings lasting changes. It decreases animosity. And see, we are all business people, and we understand that, giving respect is also practical. Today, we are on A side of the argument. Tomorrow, we may be on the B side, the opposite side of the issue. So giving respect to the adversary helps us make a relationship with the adversary, so that if and when we change our opinions, we change our viewpoints, we change our, philosophy of life, we are able to transition with simplicity. So respect is valuing others' opinion, especially in the times when it doesn't suit us, when it's contrary to our viewpoint. The last pillar, and the most important, I would say that this is the foundational pillar of the build. वो cantilever pillar होता है ना building का. Nowadays, the buildings are built on a cantilever pillar, which is in a form of a T. So that is the pillar, that is the pillar of the heart of the persuasion, which is the trust, the big T. Now you will see that T is the difference between the here, our ear, and the heart. So what we hear only reaches our heart on the bridge of trust. And again, a lot of research has been proven that in business, when there is an atmosphere of trust, it creates a safe space. People do not shy away from getting vulnerable. And instead of debating, discussing, and shouting at each other, they react, they just respond, react, and read the room. Now, trust is based on truth. So trust is very consistent because truth has just one version. We all know, our dadis and nanis have told us that, truth has just one face and lies has got many faces. So trust is based on truth. But on the contrary, in any situation, if you are able to just gain pseudo or temporary trust based on some fake promises or something, which doesn't exist, and the moment your trust is broken, that is the end of the road. In other pillars, yes, you can get a second opportunity, you can build empathy, you can be more aware the next time, you can show and get some respect. But once trust is broken, then it is broken, then it is gone, and then that is the end of the road. But if you do your persuasion, if you persuade your customer with trust, most of the cases, it's a cakewalk. So my friends and learned businessmen from the community, persuasion is not a trick of the mind. You cannot trick someone. You cannot push the way I tried to do it. but it stands strongly on the pillars of the heart. Now, let me draw some similars. Juliet was telling me, she was telling me again and again that they are going to place the order soon, but I was not listening to her. I wasn't aware that maybe it's their system, their company system, which takes time. I was not understanding her perspective. I did not respect her by not mentioning and not asking for the order in my Paris trip. And ultimately, she did not think me trustworthy. And on the contrary, my father-in-law, my mentor, Kapil Saab, listened to Manjeet's village with empathy. He was an aware police officer. He did not use force. He talked to them. He gave them respect and represented them and built their trust. And he was able to transform them he changed their life, basically. Now, this is a business research. This is done by, this is a compilation of a lot of theories. And for the lack of space and time, I'm just able to pull a few and there is actually an amazing book written by Sir Stephen Covey, which tells us that command and control doesn't work, but trust and inspire is a new model of leadership. Now, his book is based on the reactance theory, the Belmont report, the Duluth model, which says that even that the push, the negative coercion, the command, the control, it doesn't work. In more than 80% of the cases, it fails. You know what happens then? The person doesn't even go. If he's pushed or commanded or, given coerced, he or she, your customer, your client, or your team members, they don't even want to go into the merit of the situation. Now, because they think that their autonomy, their freedom of choice they are being forced to do something, it boomerangs. Whereas, if we were to connect, build trust, build a bridge, show empathy, hear them out, in more than 80% of the cases, we are able to align with them. We are able to find a common ground. And I would encourage you to look at the Duluth model because it shows you a Johari window in the different scenarios that what strategy works best, and it proves that non-coercive methods where we engage, where we trust, and where we inspire, that is the way to move forward and to build our legacy. So coming back and summarizing this whole, and you've been a lovely audience, persuasion is not a trick of the mind. It stands squarely on the pillars of the heart. And I would like to tell you, if you were to focus on these 5 effective habits, HEART, my invitation to you is that next time you guys are awesome business owners, if you're doing in your next deal or in your next debate or in your next marketing strategy, choose the pillar which you think will work. Do not push your agenda. That is my request and that is my invitation to you. Whenever you are in that situation and having a persuasive argument or trying to click a deal, trying to do a negotiation, aligning your customer, take a moment to reflect. Hear the customer out. Show empathy towards your team member. Be present, be aware. Give and get respect and build trust. You will be astounded that the person who was vehemently opposing you, it would be like a magic. Your opponent would want to get convinced, would want to be persuaded, because he or she would started to think that you are on the same side of the coin, of the same side of the issue. Coming back from Panchkula and having the synthesis of what my father-in-law, what my mentor taught me. Back then, my company was in the doldrums, and it was not very long ago. It was 12 or 15 years ago. We were in desperate times, and I was trying to push. It has this art, these 5 principles, this 5 habits of effective persuasion has done wonders for my business. We are now one of the biggest and the most trusted names in our industry. And now our clients are eager to tell us their problems. That, look, Deepak, this is the problem which we want you to solve. This is the cost reduction we want. This is the shipment date which we want. They think us that we are the most flexible and the company who loves feedback, because our persuasion, our negotiation, our marketing is not a trick of the mind. It is based on, and it stands solidly on the pillars of the heart. So, ladies and gentlemen, no longer persuasion can sustain as a trick of the mind. Please, I invite you to use these 5 magical habits, and the results will be awesome, and you will build an amazing legacy. Thank you very much. I would love to have any questions about the habits or any other experiences, something you missed out, something you didn't understand. I would love to, take up your questions if there are any. Do you want to do you want to have any questions? Do I have any questions? Do you want to know something more? Do you want to uh, need some more research? Do you want to know something about the reference material I used or something? Because I believe that giving a presentation, telling something about your knowledge, I mean, teaching is the best form of learning. I mean, I would love to share it, and I would love that, you go ahead and tell these 5 magical habits of persuasion to your team, to your clients, to your kids, to your friends. Because I believe that the chaos and the conflict in the world, we can end it if we stopped arguing, if we stopped pushing each other, if we stopped yelling, stopped honking on the roads, and we actually start using these 5 magical habits of persuasion. So
There is
I
a
will
question in the chat box, Deepak.
yes, sir.
Hardik wants to know, in a negotiation,
Yes, sir.
how do you take it ahead to the conclusion of your choice?
How do I take to the conclusion of my choice? So it's a hypothetical question, right, sir?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for this question, and it's very insightful that how do you take it? So there is another formula, which I use which is basically another corollary or an extension to the art of persuasion. It's WCW, which is called what customers want. At the end of the day, when we are able to look at things in a long-term perspective and focus on WCW, that what customers want, I think we will be able to, if we are in the moment and if we are present, we will be able to close the deal. Our gut feeling will tell us that we are taking the right decision.
Does that answer your question, Hardik?
Or is there anything which you want to add? Mrs. Zaveri?
No, it does. It does. To an extent, we'll have to practice this.
Mrs. Javeri, I would want to know your further feedback, because I want to learn that what you're thinking. At the end of the day, we are here to learn from each other, sir.
No, I mean this is again new for us also, so we'll have to learn it, practice it, and then maybe if we encounter issues, that is where the learning will happen. Otherwise, the learning won't happen.
Yes, absolutely, sir. But my invitation to you is that if there are 2 things which we can keep of the mind, that I mean, There are short-term solutions to everything. Trick of the mind is a short-term solution. Making promises which are not 100% true or which we can deliver is a short-term solution. But at the end of the day, that is not what customer wants. Customer wants a reliable, sustainable solution to their problem. And that can only happen in the long term, and we continue building their trust. मुझे पता है थोड़ी heavy बातें हैं, but I believe that this philosophy cannot fail us.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you for your question, sir.
Deepak, you have any comments on the other end of the spectrum,
sir.
Donald Trump's persuasion using tariffs, and it seems to be working.
Sir, there is I am a company, I'm an export company, sir, and 95% of my shipments are to US. So right now, no one is more terrified in this room than us. So I know Donald Trump, what he's doing. I keep on watching. At the end of the day, sir, if you read between the lines, what he's doing is he's bullying his way across because America has the right, America has the might. But if you see and you read the American press, his approval ratings are going down like anything. Number one. Number two, 95% of his executive orders have been rescinded, deemed illegal by the Supreme Court. So yes, right now he's just using these tricks of the mind. He is bullying his way forward. But in the end, I don't think so that these are going to work in the long term. No, I don't think so. And Donald Trump, because he survived an assassination attempt, itna sa usko bullet nikal gaya tha, I think he's a changed man. He just wants to, he's a different man, completely different man. He just wants to push and push and push everyone. But I don't think that is the way for any of the businessmen. I don't think so. Does this clarify to the best of my ability, Mr. Sharma?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to look at the other end of persuasion.
Yes.
Which is what Donald Trump is using without
He's
the
using
heart.
tricks. He's using tricks. He's not using heart at all. He's using
that's what I'm saying.
Different tricks of the mind. And, in the larger scheme of things, I mean, it could be a day, short term and long term, it could be a day and a week for us. But in the longer geopolitical game, I think what he's doing is completely devastating for America.
Yeah, we were only talking about the style of persuasion that he's using.
That is not persuasion, sir. That's bullying. And persuasion doesn't, if you were to go back to HEART, R is respect. That is not showing respect. He called India a dead economy and President Xi and China a thief nation, drug peddling and whatever. He doesn't use any model of the heart. He's just tricking because he belongs to he has become the president of the most powerful nation on the world. He's just using it to his advantage by using the tricks of his mind. He's not using the heart at all. And I strongly, with a lot of humility, believe in that, sir.
Hi, Deepak.
Yes, sir.
I hope you had a great session. Sorry, I got a little bit late.
Nahi, Sanjeev ji, you are my guru and it was fantastic. Thank you so much.
मेरे लिए quickly जरा recap कर दो, heart का क्या definition है?
Heart ka definition is, sir, that the persuasion is not a trick of your mind. We cannot fake it. It stands on the pillar of the heart. H is hearing. You have to hear the other person out. E is for empathy. Look at the other person's perspective. Because with empathy, we can move to the why beyond the what. And once we know the why, that where that person is coming from, I don't think the what. So empathy moves us from debate to a dialogue. A is awareness. That we have to live in the present, we have to be always aware, and we have to make the right choices. We have to look at the things the way they are, not the way we think they are. R is for respect, and you would know it better than me, sir, because what is one sure shot way of earning respect, which everyone can practice, and it is 100% sure shot? The answer would be, sir, by giving respect, you get respect.
Absolutely.
So There cannot be any persuasion without respect. And more so, if we respect the other's viewpoint, if it is going contrary to our belief system, it is all the more important. And there is reams of research supporting that. And T is trust. झूठ बोल के कुछ नहीं कर सकते सर.
बिल्कुल ठीक बात
You
है.
cannot fake it. You cannot, you cannot fake your product or services or process. You cannot say that I have got a compliant team who can do this and do that, and it doesn't, it just exists on paper. You cannot fake it. You may be able to fool once, but that's not the way. In the long term, that's the end of the road.
In case of T, in case of Trump, T becomes transaction.
In case of Trump, T becomes transaction. No, in case of Trump, the T becomes the trick. He tries to trick everyone. उसको लगता है कि सब बेवकूफ है.
हाँ, बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल.
Great session, Deepak. In fact, it was awesome hearing you, and it's a great framework to remember it very easily. It's
Yes, sir.
kind of a mental model. My question is like, Trump is a complete outlier, and
Yes, sir.
we are using a good example here. But many times when you meet people who come with a facade, who has a Trump mindset, but is not able to showcase, he may come sweet. During such interaction, how do you use this heart model to persuade or put through your points?
So you mean to say that once, if I hear you correctly, and thank you for your question, you mean to say that if a person is out there to trick you, how do you
trick me, or he's actually wants his way only, and he's trying to, in a way, not blatantly bully. He's sweet to talk, but with the intent or attitude of a bully.
Sir, we'll have to look at the context and the perspective that what, at the end of the day, whatever he's doing, what is the balance sheet of that transaction which is going to happen? Because at the end of the day, we are aware businessmen. And if you heard about my father-in-law, my mentor, there was a choice. He could have used the force, but he understood that he has to talk to the villagers. So we always have a choice. We can, just call him out. We can call him but we have to look at the stakes. In fact, in the Business Buddha model, which I'm going to soon release, there is a tool which is called the chalk, which is like setting the boundaries. So we have to, उसके आसपास लक्ष्मण रेखा खींचनी पड़ेगी कि भैया हम तेरी इतनी बकवास सुन सकते हैं because इसकी इतनी ही वैल्यू है. Beyond this,
when do you walk out?
that is a very, you see, you are asking me a generalistic question of a specific situation. I cannot give you an answer I cannot give you a general answer of a specific case.
Okay.
So, you have to be very, so the tool of chalk, which tells you that you can take a short-term hit and you stand on your philosophies. It won't work. Nothing in the life works. Trump is also working nowadays. It's been almost a year. Nothing in life works 100%. But you'll have to take that rider that, no matter what, I'll stick to that is what I think the core philosophy, the values of the business are. That we will not interact. For example, if I may ask, and I'm not an authority to say, there is a difference of transactions between the Tata Group and the other corporates of India. They do not do certain things. Although they operate in the same ecosystem, with the same bureaucracy, with the same customer, with the same people, with the same license Raj they work through, but they choose. At the end of the day, it's a personal choice, sir. And that is what awareness is all about. Reflect, act, and life is a sum total of all our choices put together. Am I able to answer your question, sir?
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Thank you.
That's great.
I think we have another 2, 3, 4 minutes. So if there is anyone who wants to take a question, or if you guys want to give me, any one of you, I would love, because I'm very new at this and I do it out of passion. This is my hobby. I'm a full-time CEO of an export company and my job keeps me busy. One of you or two of you, if you are done with the question, if you can give me a feedback that how did you like this session? Just do not tell me that बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया. Tell me, tell me your honest feedback. Sanjeev ji, you are my guru, sir.
Amazing as usual. You convert very difficult and complex concepts into easy to remember acronyms, and always it's you simplify it very much. क्योंकि
Thank you, sir.
सारी चीजें
You're too kind.
intangible, हाँ, these are very intangible actually, है ना?
Yes, sir.
और उनको tangible बना देते हो आप, और जो चीज़ tangible होती है वो implementable भी होती है.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And maybe we can work together and probably even make sure that no one actually forgets. ठीक है?
Absolutely, sir.
Great.
Absolutely, sir. And sir, because you are an AI guru and I loved your session yesterday at the CC meeting. In the world of AI, human beings have to evolve at the level of emotional intelligence. Evolve at the level of, that they are not lying to each other, because every other thing is getting mechanized. So we have to stop being mechanical in our approach. We have to actually stand on the pillars of the heart. Don't you agree, sir?
Absolutely, because you see what
Absolutely.
is right now, the world is built on what you have and what I have.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But what happens when all of us have the same thing?
Yes,
Then
that is AI.
कि बाकी तो सारा डिनोमिनेटर खत्म हो जाता है ना. अब तो
Absolutely,
हम
sir.
और आप बराबर है.
Yes,
मेरे
sir.
पास भी आईफोन है, तेरे पास भी आईफोन है. आप
Yes,
देखो
sir.
क्या करते हो तुम अपने आईफोन के साथ में. ठीक है ना? So it's the same thing. Then we'll all be at the same level, and the humanness, the human factor, and your skill, your knowledge, what you bring to the table, those are the things. ठीक है ना? The human factor is going to become the most valuable, and this has been known for many years.
Absolutely, sir. The
That-
technology keeps on evolving, but the human intellect cannot be outperformed or outbeaten. The human insight.
इनफैक्ट मेरे कोर्स में भी आप मानोगे नहीं दीपक कि मैं जो है बीइंग अ टेक्नोलॉजी कोच, मैं बीइंग पे काम करता हूँ.
Yes, of
मेरा भी
course.
फंडा है
100%.
बी डू हैव. क्योंकि
Yes.
जो लोग कहते हैं हमें सिस्टम चाहिए, बट अगर उनके बीइंग के अंदर में सिस्टम नहीं है, डिसिप्लिन नहीं है, ऐसे लोगों पे हम टेक्नोलॉजी भी नहीं लगा पाते, एआई भी नहीं लग सकती.
Because it all starts with intent.
एब्सोल्युटली. एआई वो हर एक आदमी के बस की नहीं है. और मैं ओपन चैलेंज कर सकता हूँ, गारंटी करता हूँ, मैं बता सकता हूँ कौन लगा पाएगा कौन नहीं लगा पाएगा.
So I think Deepak, I think human minds can remember mental model. I think it's beautifully acronymed mental model, and it is coincidental that the word spells heart, because when you are persuading, a lot of your heart and emotions gets involved rather than just your rational part of the brain.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Okay, so I think that's the mental model is a beautiful way of actually communicating what you have said and simplified manner. Else, to wrap up this session in such a short time, it would have been very, very difficult to communicate your point of time. I think it's beautifully done. It's it will help me to remember now for ever.
Sir, for me, on the journey I am, on the passion and the hobby I am as a business Buddha, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not here for visibility. As I told you, I'm a full-time businessman. If I can give you one takeaway and it can influence one decision and change one person's life, my job is done. My whole effort, my whole Duluth model, the research, the countless preparation is done. If there is one takeaway I can give you.
Beautiful. Great.
Gentlemen, any more feedback? Ladies, any more feedback?
Are you planning to put this into a book?
बहुत कुछ करना है तनवीर जी. अभी तो there is a TED talk happening on Sunday. I have to wrap up this whole thing in 15 minutes. That is the preparation going on. And thankfully, Atul sir and the team and you all amazing and entrepreneurs and leaders gave me an opportunity to kind of net practice. And I'm very glad. It warms my heart to know that, this heart principle would be well appreciated and would go well on the TED platform as well. Because TED is all about technology, education, and design.
Great. All the best to you.
Yes.
Okay, guys, signing off now for another Zoom meeting at 5.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Guruji.
For the amazing session.
Thank you, Guruji. So thank you, everyone, for attending this session. Truly amazing. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Goodbye, good night, and have a great, great, great day.